Ni hao. This is the second part of the day in the life of a Cambridge professor, Alan Macfarlane, myself. I've got to the point where I'm going into Cambridge to give a lecture, and I go in by bus, usually, or sometimes by taxi. Our car was hit by another car and was a write-off, and so at my age I thought, well, why am I driving? The roads are getting very busy, the surfaces are terrible, and it would be cheaper and much nicer to go by public transport and by taxi. It would also be a time where one could think and talk to my wife if she's coming in with me, and so it's much better to let others take the strain. And this is also part of a general view we have that we should try and protect the environment as much as possible, and giving up private car driving is just one of the aspects of this. Another is that we are vegetarians and we try not to waste anything at all, live simply in a kind of almost a Buddhist kind of life with exercises and healthy living so that we can preserve our energies for better things. Anyway, so I get onto the bus or into the taxi on this day. It's a taxi because I'm going for a lecture. And in the taxi, I look out on the rather lovely Cambridge countryside where I live. I live outside the city of Cambridge. Quite a lot of academics, particularly obviously when they retire, but like to live outside the city. Inside Cambridge, it's extremely stressful. You've got students coming to want to see you. You've got a constant feeling of pressure, which is stimulating for 8 or 10 hours, but then you want to escape from it. So we moved to our village house, 17th century Ming dynasty thatched cottage in the countryside 6 miles from Cambridge in 1976, many years ago, and it's got a big garden and barn, as I explained in the previous talk. So I get the taxi from there, and today I'm lecturing at Newnham College, which was one of the first women's colleges in Cambridge, and this lecture is one of a series I'm giving. When I retired as a university lecturer or professor at Cambridge, you are obliged to give about 40 lectures a year to your students. That's your main requirement. And I thought I would be giving up lecturing once I retired, just an occasional one. But one of the joys of working with young Chinese colleagues in a team is that there is now a very big demand from Chinese universities and other bodies to have lecturers at Cambridge talking to their students and other visitors. So in the last couple of years, I've been giving almost as many lectures as I was when I was a full-time teacher at the university to groups of students from different universities, 30 or 40 different universities, and they send over maybe 40 students aged 18 to 21 from all sorts of different universities. Often they're from big cities like Beijing or Shanghai, but sometimes from the West and smaller universities. And they come over and spend 2 weeks in Cambridge and have tours of Cambridge and London and lectures from one or two people. And one of the people they seem to want to have lectures from is me. So I go over to Newnham College, which is a Victorian building, but rather charming, a brick building with really lovely gardens. And I walk across thinking about what I'm going to talk to them about. And I arrive and I'm always given new energy by seeing these quite eager young faces, half men, half women, all with their mobile phones, but they put them away, and I greet them with ni hao, and they all look amazed, and then I give a lecture. And today the lecture is on a changing world, and I've managed to improve my lectures with them by gauging their level, which is high, and also by various other things. One is that just in the last couple of months, an amazing translation app, Chinese translation app, has come out, which I've been connected to. So I speak in English, and they can read the translation, a very, very good translation in Chinese above my PowerPoint pictures. There is a PowerPoint version, but the Chinese one, I'm told, is much better. So suddenly, for over the last few lectures, I've not needed a translator. This is much better. For over a year, I was having to give a lecture in which I talked for about 3 minutes and then or less, and then the translator would translate. So I could only give half the amount of information. Now I can talk non-stop, and very occasionally the translator needs to explain something, but they seem to understand if I talk fairly slowly. And so I'm talking today about how we live in a confused and anxious world. This is something I've picked up from the comments, the many comments from my Xiao Hong Shu channel. Many of the questions are about, what is the meaning of life? How am I going to manage? Will I ever get a job? Why are there so many wars and disruptions in the world? Anxious questions. So this lecture explains why we feel like this. It explains that we're not the first, that many generations in the past felt huge disruptions, like the Victorians with their loss of God and certainty with Darwinian theories, and that young Chinese feeling these feelings are not alone, that people in my country and across the West as well are feeling dislocated and confused. And so I explain 8 reasons for this, a geopolitical shift from the 200 years of Western dominance back to the East, an ecological crisis which only China really is managing to deal with, a democratic crisis in which recently in the West we've lost faith in our sense of democracy, and particularly because of events in America in the last year or so, democracy seems very, very fragile and pretty unsuitable for many other countries. A multicultural crisis whereby suddenly both the numbers of people from all different cultures in my country has increased greatly, and the communications channels which allow us to wander virtually everywhere means that our sense of identity is challenged and threatened. A religious challenge in that until recently we in the West believed that God was on our side, and that we could believe in him and he would make our civilization the greatest. And now we're facing civilizations like China which don't have a single monotheistic God, and logical challenges whereby our belief in a binary theory of the world, everything can be split into either or, is being challenged by quantum theories, both and from China and elsewhere. So I explain all this, and at the end I get a nice round of applause and talk to one or two of them, and we have a nice group photograph, and I feel that I've maybe helped one or two young Chinese understand their predicament a little better. So that's the second part of my day.